In the headlines, many fear dead as Abuja multi-story building collapses. Kebbi residents lament indifference of political leadership amidst rising cost of living. NERC urges Nigerians to update their prepaid meters before November 2024. And on the international scene, Japan's Fukushima nuclear plant begins releasing treated wastewater into the Pacific. Well, hello there. Good afternoon and welcome to the news update on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Welcome to the news once again. We begin in Abuja as rescue operation is still underway after a two-story building in Abuja collapsed, where at least 37 persons have been evacuated to hospital. Now, the incident happened at Lagos Street in Garki village in the early hours of Thursday. Eyewitnesses say the building housed many apartments with many shops on the ground floor. Now, let's get some more insight to this development. Joining us now live in the studio is our very own Shafiu Suleiman, who was at the site hours ago and is here to give us a situation report on some of these developments. Shafiu, thank you very much for joining. It's been a very busy morning for you. What can you tell us about what happened, the timeline and the sequence of the event that unfolded?
Well, Abdullahi, as we are aware, the building actually gone down midnight. As some say, as a result of the heavy downpour. Perhaps the building has been showing some sign of weakness over time, according to eyewitnesses and, of course, the occupants of the building who spoke with us. They told us actually that at some point the building was even marked for demolition, but then that demolition did not come until the incident yesterday. It's a two-story building, as we are aware, and then it houses many shops and so on. And then we also find some of the victims, so to speak, the occupants who spoke to us. They told us actually how they were able to narrowly escape, some would say. One of them told us that she was actually in the church when she received a call that the building has gone down, and she left the place a while ago before the call actually came. Right. So she narrowly escaped the incident. So she told us that there were many shops and properties are also there. They lost. We could see some of them salvaging the very few they could during the rescue operation. Yeah. But just like you're aware, only 2 persons were said to have died. Confirmed dead. 37 others were rescued. As at the time we were at the site of the incident, the rescue operation was still taking place. We were there until the time it was called off. After the rescuers have done all they could, and they couldn't find additional survivors.
So it's safe to say everybody that is resident in that particular building is accounted for now, both the dead as well as those receiving treatment.
That's exactly what we were able to gather, even though some eyewitnesses were also saying that some of the occupants who spoke to their relatives before the incident could not be reached and so on, but were there until the last minute when the rubble were cleared, and we haven't seen any other victim apart from the ones that were mentioned.
What can you tell us about the structure itself? Are we talking about a total collapse of the entire building or just sections of the building collapsed?
This particular building was actually total, except for the adjoining buildings who are also showing some sign of weakness. I've seen authorities of the FCDA carrying out integrity tests on some of the buildings very close to this one that collapsed. It shows that they are now beginning to come. They're beginning to take the issue very seriously, looking at the nature of the buildings. Most of them are old buildings actually, so they really require such integrity tests to ascertain their effectiveness, if you like.
Right. Right. Okay, so we talked about shops, and we're also talking about people housed in that building. So is it a residential as well as a shop building for the most part, or is it mostly residential?
This building in particular, I think, largely houses shops, except the one behind it, which is a residential house. That one is still standing. We could even see some of the occupants, still not trapped, so to say, but they're still in the building and watching what is happening. We could see some of them also trying to, get some of their belongings out of the building, perhaps as a result of the incident yesterday.
Okay, let's talk about emergency services, because we saw some of those pictures circulating on social media, and we saw the fire department, the fire service, alongside many other first responders there. What can you tell us about the rescue effort and how early it was made available to the people in need?
According to one of the early rescuers that we spoke with, in fact, he told us that he was practically involved in moving, those 37 persons, or rescuing those 37 persons from the building. He told us, even though his account might not be accurate, he told us that those that died, actually, the number is beyond 2. He said there were 3 people that died, 2 male and 1 female. So, but the official account is 2. He told us that they were there early, when the incident happened. So they were able to rescue a number of people. And up till this morning, a combined team of operatives of the National Emergency Management Agency, and all other, the civil defense, the police and all of that were there, trying to help in the rescue operation. There are a number of excavators too, about 3, trying to get through the rubble to see if they can find any survivors. So it was a comprehensive, if you like, and very effective rescue operation.
Right, okay. The Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, was at the site just hours ago. What can you tell us about his take on this development?
Well, we're there when the Minister of State, FCT, was there. She came alongside her aides and other security personnel, but she didn't get down from her vehicle until when the minister himself arrived. And immediately he arrived, the emir, the chief, if you like, of Garki, that is the traditional ruler, was also there to receive him. He took him around the rubbles, show him what happened, and there are sympathizers with the victims, and then talk about some measures that will be taken to address further occurrence. This is what I can tell you precisely, because there wasn't enough interface between the minister and journalists as a result of the nature of the environment. It was very chaotic.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Shafiu, thank you for the fine reporting, and I'm sure during the course of the day we'll get a much more comprehensive reporting on this development. Thank you very much for joining us. Right, moving on to some of the day's other news now. Residents of the Federal Capital Territory are advocating a governance template for the new Minister of Nigeria's capital city, Nyesom Wike, as the minister hits the ground running with policy pronouncements which have elicited divergent reactions. Some residents say the new administration needs to prioritize infrastructural development among many other areas that remain critical to the growth and development of the city. Trust TV's Noel Sampson has more.
The immediate past governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, was appointed Minister of the FCT by President Bola Tinubu. His appointment did not come as a surprise to many, owing to his performance in Rivers State. Nyesom Wike was quick to make his intention to restore the master plan of the capital city, even if it means stepping on toes of passive people in high places. This threat generated reactions amongst the residents, who did not also hide their expectations on the new FCT administration.
Wike is a man that he has a lot of energy. He's focused. Yes, he might be brash and may not come off as a smooth talking person, but definitely he's a very effective person. He's a goal-getter. So that alone, FCT does not need a smooth talker. FCT needs somebody who is ready to do the job. The city has really degraded, since after the tenure of Obasanjo, El-Rufai.
Looking at what he has done in Rivers State, though I have not been there, but the informations around shows that he's a developer, and I believe he'll do the same in FCT here.
What he's saying is right, because there are a lot of buildings, a lot of lands and properties that are abandoned by people because they think it's something like the federal government has allocated to them, and they think they will not do justice to what they've given them. But as a matter of, but he won't just take justice into his hands. I don't know. He has to take it very, very slightly, because these things are something that you need to go through the books. You understand?
His nickname is Infrastructure Man, so I'm sure. Yeah, you can't compare FCT with Rivers as a state. Yeah, the revenue here and the allocations here might not be, it will not even be up to what he was getting as governor of Rivers, and the projects he was doing there, you cannot expect him to do them here. But I'm sure we'll get the best from him.
They are ever hopeful that the new minister will turn around the capital and give it its desired facelift. Abuja is Nigeria's capital. They say it's grappling with growing population that requires infrastructural expansion, enhanced water supply, sound educational institutions, and robust modern transport system. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, the rising cost of living is continuing to take its toll on Nigerians, with many residents in Kebbi State expressing their resentment and dissatisfaction over the indifference shown by political leadership to the suffering of citizens without practical solutions to their plight. Umar Afanda reports that rising price of food items has forced many households in the state to continue to struggle.
There are glaring indications that people are becoming hopeless as the purchasing power of Nigerians is diminishing by the day. The means and sources of people's income have drastically reduced due to total absence of labor that has been affected by high cost of living. The current hike has definitely and overwhelmingly sunk the value of Nigerian wages, rendering Nigerians incapable of buying foodstuff at the rate it is now. And on the average, only few privileged Nigerians, high-class civil servants or political office holders now have the financial ability to purchase food at the cost it is. People have again become outrageous in the manner they allege indifference by the authorities to the current inflation, high level of impunity, rampant killings of ordinary Nigerians through banditry, and the manner of Nigeria's politics and the political actors. A foodstuff dealer in Birnin Kebbi Market, Mala Sambo, is one of those who expressed this outrage, saying that they only spend time in the market without buyers due to the current hike of foodstuff caused by subsidy removal. Nobody needs to be told the burden of hardship people are going through. I blame the government for not responding abruptly to the immediate yearnings of the people, which is hunger. Moreover, we in the north massively voted Tinubu, but he is not paying us with the right coin, because northerners are suffering the most because we are ravaged by so many things. This palliative the president is singing about is long overdue. I will not trust any palliative until I see it in my hands. I call on Tinubu and his government to hasten the distribution of the palliative. Cost of living? It is unimaginable. We will only need to pray to God. It is very serious. Aliu Mohammed, a Keke Napep driver, said if this kind of situation persists, they will be thrown out of business. But they are not sure of what will follow afterwards. Honestly, we are going through hell. Nobody can explain its depth. We are only buying petrol, roaming the street without passengers, who now resort to trekking. Bola Tinubu should, for God's sake, return the country to subsidy regime. We are tired. We can't bear it anymore. The problems of Nigerians are becoming cumulative, as many graduating youth are already jobless. The situation is indeed serious and calls for urgent attention. From Birnin Kebbi, Umar Afanda, Trust TV.
And in Delta State, a mixed reaction continues to trail the rollout of palliatives by Governor Sheriff Oborivori to cushion the effect and the impact of subsidy removal on residents across the state. In Asaba, the Delta State capital, Jonathan Awanyai reports that while some residents are criticizing the initiatives, others are commending the initiative and its effect on Delta residents. His reports.
Some residents of Delta State have reacted to reduction of the working days for state employees from 5 days to 3 days a week and other palliative measures by the Delta State Governor, Honorable Sheriff Oborivori, to help cushion workers with the increased fuel prices. While some residents scored the initiative low, citing operational issues such as frequent breakdowns and limited operating hours, others stressed the need for more comprehensive palliatives that would better address the challenges faced by the workers. They faulted the palliative measures, saying it was a wrong strategy, urging the governor to reverse his decision to reduce and ration working days for civil servants.
In a way, it goes down well because of the fuel situation of the country. It goes down well. In another way, it doesn't go down well, in the sense that, in terms of teaching, those people especially in the primary school that are classroom teachers, how are they going to manage the class?
We need a very long-term solution to help civil servants. 10,000 naira doesn't feel big enough, but it's encouraging. It's a step to show that the government cares and are concerned about the realities of Nigerians, of Deltans, of civil servants.
That the governor said we'll be working. It's a shift system now. You work 3 days this week. Next week you work 2 days. So it's a constant work arrangement. So there will be no vacuum.
Governor's speech as regards the 3 working days for staff of the state government from level 1 to 14, that will be coming to work 3 times in a week. I consider it as a welcome development, because presently, due to the high cost of transportation, people find it difficult to cope with the transportation.
Others commended the governor for the palliative measures he rolled out for workers and residents of the state.
Apologies for the sound quality in Jonathan's report. Moving on to some of the day's other news now. The National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress has announced the names of officers to fill vacant National Working Committee and zonal positions in the party. The National Secretary of the APC, Ajibola Basiru, announced this on Wednesday evening during a media briefing on the outcome of the NWC's meeting held at the APC National Secretariat in Abuja. The outgoing National Deputy Chairman, North Abubakar Kyari, was replaced by Borno Party Chairman Ali Dalori, while the National Women Leader position will now be taken over by Mary Alile Idele from Edo State. Both Kyari and Betta Edu were recently appointed ministers by President Bola Tinubu. Edu was appointed Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, while Senator Kyari was appointed Minister of Agriculture and Food Security. Others appointed include Garba Datti Mohammed as National Vice Chairman, Northwest, and Professor Abdul Karim Abubakar Kana as National Legal Advisor. Donatus Umwakpa is now the National Welfare Secretary, and Duro Meseko is going to serve as Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the APC, and Ikani Shuaibu Okolo is the new Zonal Organizing Secretary, North Central. Right, you're watching the news update on Trust TV. Coming up ahead, we take a look at how sanitation is going to serve as a mitigating factor for flooding. Details coming up ahead after the break. Welcome back to the news and thank you very much for staying with us. Here's a reminder of our top stories at this hour. 2 feared dead as Abuja multi-story building collapses. Kebbi residents lament indifference of political leadership as rising cost of living continues to take its toll. Now, the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission has urged citizens with prepaid meters to update them before November 2024. Now, the regulatory body said users who fail to update their meters before the set date won't be able to recharge their prepaid meters. The regulator says electricity distribution companies will start to issue free token to enable the update across the country. Now, NERC says the update will not affect units in customers' meters, nor will it make the meter run faster than usual. Now, there is growing concern over the possibility of devastation by floodwaters in Adamawa, Taraba and Benue states if Cameroonian authorities release water from Lado Dam. The Benue state government has directed residents living in flood-prone areas to relocate to higher grounds and to improve on sanitation across the area. Jimmy Azandi spoke to some of the residents who were affected by last year's flooding.
No doubt, the river Benue is swelling up, a sign that there may be flood as predicted. The residents of these areas are not unmindful of this threat.
Human activities have made the flooding gradually become worse in terms of the volume of water and in terms of the spread of the water, and again in terms of the level of devastation. So people living in such areas should ensure they clear their drainages and have clear passages, water passage, and for those that are building across drainages, they have to find a way of channeling the water back towards the river because their properties are standing against nature.
The good thing, however, is that most residents said they are aware of a flood warning by NIMET, but they said migration is expensive too.
So particularly I want to advise the public that those of us that are residing where those every year this flood used to take place, we should to put our things in order so that when the flood occurs, should not be fined. We should not come back and start complaining that we have all our things got drawn.
The residents living in the flood-prone areas, especially students among them, are urged to vacate and not wait for the worst.
The news is flaunting internet of a flood that is about to take place this month due to some release of water from dam. So this is my advice to you as a student living in a riverine area. If you want to leave, because this flood might occur during our holidays, if you want to leave, please take home anything that is your belonging from your room. And if it happens to occur, and if you are in your room during the school session, beware and be careful, because anything flood is not always healthy to the society. It causes a lot of disasters and damages. So please, as we live, let us live with caution.
They hope the government will find a lasting solution to the perennial flooding in the river Benue states to avert losses that come with it. Jimmy Azandi, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
Let's bring you up to speed now with some of the developments on the international scene, and we start in Japan as the country begins releasing wastewater from the crippled Fukushima nuclear plant into the Pacific Ocean on Thursday, despite angry opposition from China and local fishermen. The start of the discharge of around 540 Olympic swimming pools worth of water over several decades is a big step in decommissioning the still highly dangerous site 12 years after one of the world's most deadly nuclear incidents. Now, monitors from the United Nations Atomic Watchdog, which has endorsed the plan, were due to be on site for the procedure, while TEPCO workers were scheduled to take water samples later on Thursday. Japanese officials have repeatedly insisted that the wastewater release is safe, but China's Environment Ministry on Thursday blasted Japan as, quote, extremely selfish and irresponsible, saying it would track and study the impact of the release on its waters. Ahead of the operation, about 10 people held a protest near the site and around 100 others gathered outside TEPCO headquarters in Tokyo with around 1,000 steel containers holding the water. And TEPCO has said that it needs to clear space for the removal of highly dangerous radioactive nuclear fuel and rubble from the wrecked reactors. And in sports, defending world title holder Toby Amos Amusan on Wednesday qualified for the final of the 100 meters hurdle event at the ongoing World Championships in Budapest, Hungary. Running in lane 7, Amusan won the second semi-final despite having a slow start. She is now ready for Thursday's final race and ready to defend the title she won last year in Oregon. Amusan was only cleared to run last week over an alleged breaking of the anti-doping rules, but the Nigerian came through as a semi-final winner in 12.5 seconds. And she was pushed all the way by young Jamaican Akira Nugent, who enjoyed an early lead before Amusan snatched victory at the finish line. The reigning NCAA champion, who clocked 12.6 seconds, eventually settled for the second position. Well, that is it. You're up to date with the latest news stories at this hour. Feel free to follow us across our social media platforms for more content, and visit www.trusttv.com for more news. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for watching.